Hello everyone, I'm Sarah of Rich Textures Crochet and welcome. Today we are going to learn how to crochet the Taylor Mittens. This is the third accessory pattern in the 2024 Wonderful Hats Crochet Along. So thank you so much for joining me if you're here for the crochet along. If this is your first time kind of stumbling along this channel, also welcome, and I hope that you enjoy this tutorial. So today we're learning how to crochet these Taylor mittens. They are super cozy. They're fairly easy to work. They're worked from the cuff all the way up to the top, and I have 3 adult sizes available for them. Today we're going to work the medium size of mitten, which is what you are seeing here in front of you, and the instructions for the small and large size are available on richtexturescrochet.com for free. You'll find a direct link to the free written instructions down in the description of this video. You'll also find more information about the crochet along there on that post. So thank you so much for joining me. Today for the tutorial, we're going to be using a number 4 medium weight yarn. I am using the Woolies, which is an acrylic wool blend. For the mittens, you're going to need about 1 ball for the smallest size, up to 1.5 balls for the largest size. There is 197 yards in this ball of yarn, so again, you'll need about 200 to 300 yards depending on the size of mitten you are making. You're also going to need a 5mm or an H8 crochet hook. Again, the free instructions are on richtexturescrochet.com, so don't hesitate to head over there to get the stitch counts for the other sizes. Thank you for joining me. While you're here, I invite you to subscribe. Take a look around. This channel is updated every single week, including during this crochet along. You'll want to check out the other videos for it as well, and including the free hat pattern, which was written in order to complement these mittens, the Taylor Beanie. Let's grab our hooks and yarn and get started. Our mittens today are worked from the cuff, which is worked in rows up to the top. So we're going to start by making a slip knot, and then by working a foundation chain. If you are working the medium size, as I am working today, you're going to chain a total of 12 stitches for your foundation chain. Once you have worked that foundation chain, you're going to begin by working a slip stitch into the second chain from your hook, and then slip stitch into each chain all the way across. You'll have a total of 11 stitches at the end of this row. At the end of row 1, chain 1 and turn your work. We're now going to continue working slip stitches across, this time working them in the back loop only. Your chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and looking at the top of your stitch, you'll have a loop that is closest to you and a loop that is furthest away. This loop that is furthest away, that is your back loop. So insert your hook under the back loop only, slip stitch into that first stitch, and then into each stitch all the way across. When you come all the way across at the end of row 2, chain 1 and turn your work. Now for row 3 onward, you're going to continue to repeat row 2 until your work from the beginning measures approximately 7 inches. If you're working that smaller side, it's going to be about 6 to 6.5. The larger size, 7.5 to 8. Again, all of the stitch adjustments are over on richtexturescrochet.com. So continue to repeat row 2 until your work from the beginning measures approximately 7 inches for our size medium today, and then meet me back here. Once you have worked 7 inches, and that's when your fabric is laid flat and just nice and relaxed. You're not going to stretch it all, but it's 7 inches while it's relaxed. When you stretch it, it'll stretch a little bit larger, which is going to make a super cozy cuff. Once you've worked the 7 inches, you're going to chain 1, do not fasten off, and you're going to take your 2 short ends and fold them over so that they meet. You're then going to slip stitch in each stitch through both thicknesses all the way across, working in that back loop only. So the back loop only of the first side, reach across, back loop only of the second side, and slip stitch. Work like this all the way across, slip stitching in the back loop only through both thicknesses until you come to the end. Again, it will be 11 stitches. At the end, you're going to chain 1, turn your cuff so that it is now right side out and that seam is on the inside. We're now going to go ahead and start working the mitten body. And for round 1, it's worked in rounds around this rough edge of the cuff. For round 1, we're going to evenly work 32 half double crochet stitches all the way around. Now when I'm working my half double crochet stitches, I'm just inserting my hook where it feels comfortable. You'll want these half double crochets to be spread out fairly evenly all the way around this rough edge of your cuff. For this medium size, we're working a total of 32. Once you come all the way around, at the end of round 1, you're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. Now for the next 2 rounds, rounds 2 and 3, we're going to work as follows. Chain 1. Now working in the 3rd loop of each stitch all the way around, work a half double crochet in each stitch. To find your 3rd loop, when you're looking at the top of your stitch, you have your front loop and you have the back loop. If you turn your work so you're looking at the back of your half double crochet, you'll see a loop that runs just along underneath that back loop. This is your 3rd loop. So we're inserting our hook into that 3rd loop only, half double crochet into the seam stitches joining, and then into each stitch all the way around. When you come to the end, you're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of the first stitch, chain 1, and then repeat for round 3. At the end of round 3, you can meet me back here. At the end of round 3, you've worked 2 rounds of half double crochet stitches in the 3rd loop. For round 4, we're going to chain 1. Continue working in the same direction, and you're going to work a front post double crochet around the post of each stitch all the way around. To work your front post double crochet, yarn over, bring your hook in front of your work and insert your hook from the front, around back, and out through the front again, around the post of that first stitch. Now when I'm working around my first half double crochet, I'm including my chain 1 as part of the post, just to keep it looking a little bit neater. You're going to yarn over and drop a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 more. You're going to repeat that around the post of each stitch all the way around. Yarn over, bring your hook in front of your work, insert your hook from the front, around back and out through the front again, around the post of the next stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2 more. Repeat this all the way around until you come back to your first stitch, and then join with the slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. At the end of round 4, you're going to join with the slip stitch into the top of your first stitch and chain 1. Now for round 5, we're going to work a front post half double crochet around the post of each stitch. To work the front post half double crochet, yarn over, bring your hook in front of your work and insert your hook from the front, around back, out through the front again, around the post of the next stitch, yarn over and drop a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. That's your front post half double crochet. You're going to repeat that around the post of each stitch all the way around, and then join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. At the end of round 5, join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch and chain 1. Now for rounds 6 and 7, we're going to continue working half double crochet stitches, this time in the 3rd loop. So just as you did down below, you're going to work a half double crochet in the 3rd loop of each stitch all the way around. When you come back to your first stitch, join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch and then repeat for round 7. Meet me back here at the end of your round 7. At the end of round 7, join with the slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. Now for rounds 8, 9, 10, and 11, you're simply going to repeat your rounds 4 through to 7 once more. So your round 4 began with the front post double crochet around the post of each stitch, followed by your front post half double crochet around the post of each stitch, and then your 2 rounds of half double crochets in the 3rd loop. So repeat rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 once more. At the end of round 11, this is what your work looks like from the beginning. For round 12, we're going to work the round that is going to form the thumb hole for our mitten. So for round 12, we're going to chain 1 and then work a front post double crochet around the post of each stitch until 6 stitches remain. So you're going to work a total of 26 front post double crochet stitches. 1 front post double crochet around the post of each stitch all the way around until 6 stitches remain. That's 20. And 26. You'll have 6 stitches remaining. You're going to chain 2, leave those remaining 6 stitches unworked, and join with the slip stitch to the top of your first stitch. Now for round 13, we're going to chain 1, work a front post half double crochet around the post of each stitch until you come around to your chain 2. So you'll have a total of 26 front post half double crochet stitches. When you come to that chain 2, you're going to work a half double crochet into each chain stitch. So you'll have a total of 2 half double crochets. You can then join with a slip stitch to the top of your first stitch. You'll now have a nice thumb hole worked in your mitten. Now for rounds 14 and 15, just as you did before, chain 1, working in the 3rd loop only all the way around, work a half double crochet into each stitch all the way around, and join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. At this time, for your size medium, you'll have a total of 28 stitches. When you come back to that first stitch, join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch, chain 1, and repeat. We're going to meet back here at the end of round 15. For round 16, chain 1, work a front post double crochet around the same post of the same stitch as joining, or around that first stitch, and then front post double crochet around the post of each stitch all the way around. When you come back to that first stitch, you're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. At the end of round 16, join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch and chain 1. Now for round 17, we're going to work a front post half double crochet around that first stitch, the same stitch as joining, and then front post half double crochet around the post of each stitch all the way around. When you come back to your first stitch, join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. At the end of round 17, join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. Now for rounds 18, 19, 20, and 21, so for the next 4 rounds, you are going to repeat your rounds 14, 15, 16, and 17. So your round 14 began with the half double crochet in the 3rd loop. Repeat rounds 14, 15, 16, and 17. and then you can meet me back here at the end of round 21. At the end of round 21, this is what your work looks like from the beginning. We're now going to work 2 more rounds of half double crochet stitches in the third loop prior to closing off the top of our mitten. So for rounds 22 and 23, work a half double crochet in the third loop of each stitch all the way around, then join with the slip stitch into the top of your first stitch, chain 1, and repeat. At the end of round 23, we will begin to close the top of our mitten. For round 24, we're going to work the first of our decrease rounds to close the top of our mitten. You're going to chain 1 and work in the third loop all the way around. Each of these rounds is worked in the third loop, and you're going to work a half double crochet in each of the first 3 stitches. Next, work a half double crochet 2 together, again working in your third loops. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and draw up a loop, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and draw through all 4 loops. You're going to repeat that all the way around, working in the third loop all the way around. Work a half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Then half double crochet 2 together all the way around. When you come all the way around, you're going to finish off with a half double crochet in each of the final 3 stitches, and then join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. Now for round 25, we're going to chain 1, continue working in the third loop all the way around, and you're going to work a half double crochet into each of the first 2 stitches. You're then going to work a half double crochet 2 stitches together. Repeat that all the way around, half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then half double crochet 2 stitches together. All the way around until you come back to your first stitch. When you come all the way around, you're going to finish off with a half double crochet into your final stitch. Join with a slip stitch into the top of that first stitch. We have one more round to work for the mitten body. For round 26, we're going to chain 1, work a half double crochet into the first stitch, working in the third loop all the way around, and then work a half double crochet 2 stitches together. You're going to repeat that all the way around, half double crochet into your next stitch, and then half double crochet 2 stitches together, all the way around until you come to that first stitch. When you come all the way around, you're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. You're then going to fasten off, leaving a fairly long tail. We're now going to use that long tail to sew the top of our hat closed. So you're going to want to grab a yarn needle and thread your long tail through that yarn needle. Now for this part, I do like to turn the mitten inside out. And you'll want to lay it so that your thumb hole is kind of sticking out the side of your mitten. You're then going to simply use your favorite method of sewing to sew the top of your mittens closed. I'm just doing a quick stitch here all the way across the top, inserting my hook just under the top 2 loops of each stitch. When you come across, make sure that you secure the end. You don't want it unraveling, as mittens do receive quite a bit of wear and tear to them. And then just simply tuck in your end. You're then going to turn your mitten right side out. And you can go ahead and weave in any other ends if desired, if there are any left out. So this is what we have so far for our mitten. Now we're going to begin working our thumb. So taking your mitten and having the right side facing you, you're going to join your yarn with a slip stitch into any space around your mitten. So just join your yarn. Now, one thing to make note of when you are joining, and you may have seen it at the start when I started my video, depending on where you join, it can pull this stitch and create a little bit of a gap in your mitten between your thumb and your main part. So you're going to want to maybe join your first stitch just into one of the bottom loop stitches. Chain 1, and you're going to evenly work 10 half double crochet stitches all the way around this thumb opening. So simply work 10 half double crochet stitches evenly all the way around. There's 5. And 10. You can work more or less. Just make sure you make note of it and use the same number on your other thumb. I'm actually going to move this one stitch over just a tad more so there's not as big of a gap in between these 2 stitches. You'll then want to join with a slip stitch into the top of that first stitch, making sure to pull it pretty tight. Now for rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, so the next 5 rounds, you're going to chain 1 and working in the 3rd loop only of each stitch all the way around, work half double crochet stitches. Now, if you wish, you can work continuous rounds. That's where you do not join at the end of each round, but just continue to work half double crochet stitches. I'll show you what I mean here in a moment when I come around. Otherwise, you can join with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then repeat. You want to have a total of 5 rounds of half double crochet stitches worked in the third loop for this medium size. Again, if you're looking for the size adjustments, head over to richtexturescrochet.com. The free written instructions are there. So I'm coming around. If I don't want to join, I can simply continue working in that third loop and work my next half double crochet. Make sure you pull it a little bit tighter, and then continue working half double crochets in the third loop all the way around until you've worked a total of 6 rounds. Once you've worked through to round 6, you're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of your first stitch, and you can then fasten off, again leaving a little bit of a long tail. Now take your long tail and thread it through your yarn needle. Again, I like to turn this turn the thumb inside out, just so that I can make sure the seam is on the inside. And you're going to use your long tail to sew the top of your thumb closed. What I like to do is simply weave my yarn in and out through the top of my thumb, just under the top loops of my stitches all the way around. When you come back to that first stitch, simply pull, closed, and once again secure. You'll then go ahead, tuck in your ends, fasten off any loose tails, and turn your thumb right side out once again. And that is it. That is how you work your Taylor mittens. Go ahead and repeat those steps for the second mitten, and then you're well on your way. So thank you so much for joining me. If you happen to make these mittens and share them on social media, be sure to tag Rich Textures Crochet. I love to come by and admire your work. And until next time, happy crocheting. Bye.